Hey, Professor Caffrey. Um, Thanks for doing this class, and I really appreciate it. So far, I learned a lot, especially about the Holy Spirit. Crazy, went to Bible school, but then got a great foundation, but then go to ORU and get even a bigger one. So I really enjoy it. So I really enjoy the way you teach class too, as well, and the way you do your homework. So anyway, on to the video. So how did the Pentecostal movement start? So listening to um, the two speakers and then reading a little bit, and then also remembering from church history when I took classes on stuff. I didn't know that it started in Topeka, Kansas, so I thought that was very interesting. It started in a small church there and grew, and then obviously, William Seymour being the founder of the Azusa Street Mission Church. Obviously, he took it there from Topeka to there after being in class and learning under the guys that were there. And then, it's funny how he just kind of was there and he was preaching and it just exploded and people were coming and it just started to grow and grow and get bigger and bigger. And I think that was amazing. One of my favorite points about it, I'll answer in number 5, which is share one fact that you believe everyone should know about Pentecostalism. Uh, I think it's really cool how when it started to grow in Topeka and then also in Azusa Street, they were in depthly studying the book of Acts. And I think that's really cool because I remember that I did a mission trip to Bolivia, took a bunch of students there, and the whole time we were there and leading up to it, we were reading the book of Acts. And the whole time we were there, just I would have revelation after revelation about things that were happening. And it was just so amazing because, when you read the book of Acts, you get inspired, you see the stories, but there's something about the Holy Spirit just speaking to you and through you in the book of Acts. And it's amazing how that works. It's amazing how it works in your life. And so it's probably one of those things that you feel like after you read it and you have that experience, maybe you should just keep reading just that book, but there's so much more and everything else that's amazing. But it does seem to propel you forward. So, and then, how did it grow along with Azusa Street and then obviously our founder in our college, Oral Roberts, doing tent revival and going around. Something I learned the other day from a guy who went to Raymond, he was talking about Brother Hagen, is that, Oral was very big on doing intent ministry and going places, and he would do healing, and, hundreds and hundreds of people would get saved. And Brother Hagen said he was no dummy. He said that he would follow Oral Roberts around, and so where Oral was going, he would come in behind him and would stay a couple weeks and he would teach. And I thought it was really cool because, not that Brother Hagen didn't believe in miracles or that people would get, healed or anything like that, but he was more um, of a man who wanted to teach someone about faith and why they got healed so that they could keep their healing. And to hear the guy that I was talking to who, studied underneath Brother Hagen, it just was amazing to see and hear him talk about how, faith is something that that people get, and it's something they have to learn how to use, obviously. But it was amazing that people would get healed, but then they would lose their healing, and that was something that was really important to Brother Hagen. Is he wanted to teach them how to have the faith to keep the healing, and I thought it was really cool because I have seen people get healed. I've been on missions, been on big events where people have gotten healed, and then maybe you go back and you see those people again, and then the healing is not manifested the whole time or still a part of it. So that's very interesting to me to hear how he went behind them and teaching them, how to keep the faith or keep the healing with their faith. So really good. Explaining which way the history of the Pentecostal movement affected you and why. I'd have to say it came after Oral Roberts. So after Oral did his tent ministry, he started obviously his college, which we're so thankful for. But one of my big influencers in my life is Pastor Billy Joe, and so I came to his school. My grandparents were a part of his church, and he was directly affected by Oral Roberts. He was going to go to college on a football scholarship and started talking to a friend, and a friend told him he was going to ORU, and he asked him, well, that's kind of an uppity school, or I don't remember, as a private school, I guess is the way Billy Joe described it. He didn't think that he would have the money, but his friend said, you know what, I'm just believing God for the money, and I'm going to believe that God's going to pay for everything. And so Billy's mindset was just shifted 100%, because he kind of just had always thought about state school and not really, being able to go to a private school. And so after talking to his friend and having his mind shifted, he believed God that, he could go to school and all of it could be paid for by scholarship or working or whatever, and was able to go. And so my life was directly affected by that, because obviously after Billy Joe went to ORU, he started his church Victory, which directly influenced my life and my family, my wife, met my wife at Victory, through Victory, my kids as well. So just very thankful about how that part of the Pentecostal movement has affected my life specifically. I explained, if you believe or not, that every Christian should live the Pentecostal way, and why. I know some of the Pentecostals currently are friends of mine, and I see some of the things that they do, and I feel like, it's kind of like with any movement or the law, just in general. I think that's why Paul talked about it in Romans so much, that, should we just do away with the law? No, we're thankful for the law, because the law actually teaches us, where our standard needs to be. But it's not the law that we're trying to live by, because there's freedom in that. There's freedom in it. And, with any denomination, I think as soon as you start to put down laws and rules and things like that, and set things in concrete, certain things, I think that it really affects people's life. And I think that every rule can have an addendum tied to it, or maybe it doesn't apply to this person, or this, that, or the other, or this person doesn't have an issue with that or struggle with that. So I guess what I would say about that is I believe that the Pentecostals have so much in them that is great, but then there are a few things that do hold them back. So I would have to agree with not, because there are a few things that do hold them back. But with anything, right, we disagree on 3%, 2% of what really is the Bible, or what we're actually going through, and yet the other 98% we 100% agree on, but yet we can't come together in all of our denominations and just work together as unity. So I think in that way with our country too as well. So and then the last one, I guess I did. I shared about Acts. So yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. Thanks again, sir, and have a great night, and we'll see you soon.